You love our style, you not the crazy. Mess with your soul like ether. Teach you the king, you know you. Godson across the belly. I prove you lost already.
Mark Malusis, the fantasy exec, Corey Parson with you on a Wednesday right here on the Better Sports Network. Good morning, Corey. How you doing, bud?
Mark, what's going on, my man? How's everything going? I'm glad to be back today. Get a chance to spend a little bit of time with the crew, so looking forward to it.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot going on for sure. Glad that you're with us, obviously, and plenty of stuff to get into. We're going to be joined by Dave Barnett from Tour Junkies. He's going to join Corey, myself, top of the 11 o'clock hour. But let's kick it off, obviously, with the NBA. Big news that came down late last night that Draymond Green is going to be suspended for Game 3 for the Golden State Warriors for his stomp on the chest of Sabonis in Game 2. Sabonis was holding on to his ankle before then. X-rays were negative on Sabonis. X-rays on the ankle for Draymond Green negative as well, Corey. But I don't think there was anything ever wrong with Draymond's ankle. But the statement that was released last night by the NBA is, the history that Draymond Green has for these type of incidents played a role in him getting suspended for Game 3.
It's crazy. As soon as I saw the incident, I was like, they got to throw him out this game and suspend him for the next. What I found to be odd is, like, even right now with Baby J in the chat, how do people don't think that Draymond Green should be suspended for that? Like, he stomped on Sabonis, then jumped up off him like a trampoline. I did a short yesterday. This is embarrassing. The fact that Steve Kerr continues to allow Draymond Green to embarrass this organization is an absolute joke. This is a situation where I don't even think the commissioner should have had to step in on this one. Steve Kerr should have stopped this. Mark, this guy has started this season off by punching a teammate, the kick on Steven Adams, ran Kevin Durant. This guy has been, I understand he's a core backbone player for this organization that won 4 championships, but his behavior for a 33-year-old man is embarrassing to this organization, and they won't put their foot down.
Well, but they didn't suspend him for opening night after he punched Jordan Poole.
Exactly.
The Golden State Warriors are going to suspend him for Game 3 of the series that they're down 2-0. Listen, I understand that either Draymond Green's one of those players you either love or hate. There's no question about it, Corey, but I didn't think he should have been suspended.
I don't understand why everybody's saying this.
Well, because number one is Sabonis is not hurt, so he's not going to be out of the game. And if you look at it, Sabonis was holding on to Draymond Green's ankle, and he was trying to get himself free while Sabonis was laying on the court, back down. I just don't know if necessarily I thought that. I was kind of surprised when the news came out and they released it so late in the evening as well that Draymond Green was going to get suspended for Game 3. To me, that was a little bit surprising.
Nah, I was looking for it. It's funny. It's interesting. I was looking for it. I think the stomp, like, I understand the whole thing with Sabonis on the ground, grabbing the ankle, but I think it's ways you can get out of that instead of stomping somebody on their chest and then bouncing up off it like it's a trampoline. And then the antics afterwards don't make it any better. The whole wrestling thing, the WWE with yelling at the fans and going back and forth to the fans. We saw the same thing when he got kicked out of a game in Memphis last season. And the commissioner is sitting right there at this game. To me, I'm like,
didn't help.
Yeah, no, it didn't. You know what I'm saying? When the man is right there. And then they say, okay, well, Joe Dumars is the one that levied the suspension and saying it's because of things he's done in the past as well. Listen, when you become a villain, then when you do villainous activities, you get treated in such. And
right, but here's the problem with the statement. The statement is that, okay, say if somebody that does not have a history did what Draymond Green did, there would be no suspension.
I mean, listen, if that's the way they're going about it,
well then, aren't I as a league and association, aren't I looking at each and every act as an individual kind of occurrence? Am I really going to look at this as a compilation of multiple different things over the course of his career? You're really going to look back to him, kicking LeBron James and all the other stuff that Draymond Green has done over the course of his career and say, well, it's built up to this moment. Don't I just look at that act? Because your argument, Corey, is pure, right? Your argument is that I think he should have been suspended based on what he did to Sabonis, based on the action that we saw in game 2. But if you really read the statement from the NBA, it's not just based on that act, it's based on what he's done his entire career. That to me, I don't know if that really holds any water. So, like, I'm going to look at something, if say Jalen Brunson or pick some other guy that has no history of doing anything like this in the NBA. And there's many of them. You can run down the litany and the list of guys. There's not many Draymond Greens out there in the NBA that push the envelope. Dylan Brooks does with the Memphis Grizzlies. I'm going to look at that as the one instance. I'm going to look at it the one occurrence. If if they did that and they were not going to get suspended, why should Draymond Green get suspended?
Because Draymond Green needs to. It's got to stop at some point. It's not just the physical act. It's also the verbal stuff with the referees that takes place almost every game that he's playing in. I mean, and then when you always hear an announcer says, "Oh, they give Draymond a longer leash than they give most players." That's the problem. Because Draymond gets that longer leash, he continues to push the boundaries.
Yeah, but this is also a league.
Step in and stop
Hold on a second, Corey. But this is also a league in which we celebrate the Detroit Pistons.
In the 90s.
Right, I understand that, but you and I are old enough to remember when the
Joe
Pistons
Dumars
were doing
was
their
the
things. I love the Knicks and Charles Oakley, who was out at the Toronto game looking as cool and fly as ever, right? I appreciate the toughness and the physicality and that the blood was drawn and no layups defense by, Pat Riley. If they come down the lane, knock them on their rear end. Those days of the NBA are long gone because they've taken the physicality out of the sport, right? So we've had those discussions and had those conversations. I guess I just look at it where I look at the incident and I say, okay, well, if it's Joe Q NBA player, not Draymond Green, the NBA basically told you that player was not going to be suspended. Draymond was because of what Draymond's done over the course of his career. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so, because Draymond Green, he gets away with a lot of this stuff too. You see, that's the problem, is that he gets away with it. It's not just of the physical thing. It's the constant going back and forth with the ref. He gets a longer leash, longer
whistle. Goes back and forth. LeBron complains, Kevin Durant complains.
Draymond says the magic word. You see how Draymond acts with these officials, and they let him go. And it's kind of like, I always tell my kids, like my daughter, I did this because I had an attitude. That's not going to fly. You know what I'm saying? And the thing with Draymond is it's the same thing. Oh, well, he's Draymond, so we'll let him act the fool. No, somebody got to stop this before, or he's going to continue to do it. Listen, the malice and the palace changed the way the NBA ran their operation as far as the physicality in the league. Obviously, nobody wants to see a situation like that again. And I think today's athletes are more nuanced to where that we don't to get to a situation like that. But that really changed the way that they wanted the game played on the court. Hey, I love those fights and all that old school basketball from back in the day. But in today's environment, the only guy who is constantly pushing his envelope is Draymond Green, and they never do anything. And it's almost like he's allowed to do it because he's him.
Well, let's play the video back again because Ernie's got it. So here's the Draymond, video where he stomped on the chest of Sabonis. Take a look.
Let's take another look.
Oh my gosh.
That is
He's going to be ejected for this.
That looked purposeful and intentional.
I mean, come on.
I'm not saying it looks good. I'm not saying it looks good. I'm really not. I'm not saying it looks good at all, Corey. It's a terrible look. And I'm not a Draymond Green fan. I really am not. I'm not. I don't.
And I'm a Draymond Green guy, but it's got to stop.
I don't necessarily take, I don't necessarily listen to his podcast. I think some of the stuff that he has to say is pure and complete and utter nonsense. I think he lives in, his own little world and own little vacuum. And I think Draymond Green's going to be one of those guys that's going to be a media darling afterward because he's going to say everything that is on his mind and has no issues with being critical and of other NBA players past and present. With all of that being said, I'm just going to go on the idea that he got suspended because of the history of him as a player. And my question is, Your answer is yes, that's fair because he's done this all the way along. Well, you should have reined it in a long time ago.
Now that I agree with
and if you didn't do it a long time ago, well, then you're going to get Draymond Green doing what he did, as we just witnessed and just saw once again in game 2. So now is it fair then to go suspend him because of what he has done in the past as far as a compilation of everything to go along with this on the cherry on the top? Was that enough to go suspend him just based on the action? And the NBA in the statement basically said no.
Well, I think, okay, so you can look at it that way. I wouldn't necessarily say that was it. But I think when you look at the fact that there hasn't been he's gotten away a long time with no discipline. That's the problem. So at some point, they got to, okay, let's stop this early in this postseason. Let's not have any more of these blowups. You remember the kick to Steven Adams, the elbow to James Harden, just these things that go unchecked year after year after year after year. You know, when you look at that video of when he hit his teammate, come on, man. Like, this is...
No, I don't disagree with that, but they decided that because they didn't want him to miss ring night, so they didn't suspend him for the opener for a goal.
Listen, Steph Curry being your best friend helps a lot.
But Corey, here's the statement. Let's just read it in part. Right, here it is. Golden State Warriors forward Draymond Green, released late last night, who has been suspended 1 game without pay for stepping on the chest of Sacramento Kings center Domantas Sabonis. It was announced today by Joe Dumars, executive vice president and head of basketball operations. The suspension was based in part on Green's history of unsportsmanlike acts. Green's actions were in response to Sabonis grabbing and holding Green's right ankle after falling to the floor. Green received a flagrant 2, was ejected. Sabonis was assessed a technical foul. The incident occurred with 7:03 remaining in the fourth quarter. The Warriors 114-106 lost to the Kings in game 2 of their first-round series, April 17th at Golden One Center. Green will serve his suspension April 20th when the Warriors host the Kings for game 3 of their series at the Chase Center. So, okay, that's all well and good. So we got it all. So they realized Sabonis did wrong, and he got a technical. Green got tossed out of the game and was doing his, WWE, impersonation of the crowd and everything like that. Exactly. I'm not telling you that, but I'll tell you, he adds a little something to the NBA. I'm not a Draymond supporter, but the problem, the issue I have, the suspension was based in part on Green's history of unsportsmanlike conduct.
But
so in an instance, Corey, if they're telling me that if it was Corey Parson that was on the court that night, that has no history of doing any of this, decided to do that after another player was grabbing your ankle, you'd be playing game 3.
So I think when you read that first, the opening of the statement, they say he was suspended for this act. Then they say if other unsportsmanlike conduct factored into it. So basically, okay, he was suspended because of this. Well, Sabonis did this. Well, Draymond Green was yelling at the referees 2 weeks ago, and we need him to stop doing that. That's basically what it comes down to. And it's Joe Dumars who's levying out the punishment, makes it even funnier. You know what I'm saying? Because we know what Joe Dumars and that team was really about, and how they really went at it. But he has a history that will allow for this to happen. I look at the organization for not stopping this a long time ago. When he ran Kevin Durant, I would have had a sit down with him at that moment. Like, you can't do this any longer. They talk to him and talk to him and talk to him and talk to him, and it never changes.
No, it doesn't, because that's how he's in the league.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Draymond Green. So and I love him at Michigan State. When I remember I was on WFAN draft night when Draymond Green got selected. And I remember saying, because I liked his game at Michigan State, I liked him with the Spartans. I thought that if Draymond, got himself in better shape, because I thought he was a little doughy in college and a little overweight. And he has. I thought Draymond Green could fill a role for an NBA team in the right spot, and he has found the right spot in Golden State. He can't be the guy offensively because he's not good enough and doesn't shoot the ball well enough from the outside. He's got to be one of those guys that can defend, do the dirty work down low, rebound the basketball, and play with an edge. And that's how Draymond Green has kind of cut his way through the NBA. And you're going to need those guys in the league.
Yeah, no.
appreciation. I mean, Corey, I know you're no longer a Knicks fan, and you celebrated last night as the couch.
No, I know. No, don't go that far now. I was rooting. I am rooting.
We'll
Rooting
get
for the
into
Knicks. Yeah,
we'll get into the NBA.
Yeah.
I'm just poking fun. But the point being is that, like, I have an appreciation for guys like Draymond Green. I do. Not that I want guys to be dirty or not have respect for the game. If Sabonis doesn't grab Draymond's ankle, there is no stop.
That part of it is true, but
Draymond reacted to what he was being done to him. That's the other part of the issue that I have with this suspension. And listen, I'm rooting for Sacramento in the series. I liked them, and I bet them before the series started.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm rooting for the Kings. Love De'Aaron Fox, like Sabonis, like, Red Velvet Herter, shooting the ball from the outside. There's a lot of, like, the resurgence of Malik Monk once again. The old Kentucky backcourt back together again in Sacktown with Monk and De'Aaron Fox. I like Sacramento. I'm rooting for them in the series. I'm tired of the everything and the arrogance around the Golden State Warriors this season. I just don't know, based on the two things that we've talked about, and you totally disagree. It's a reaction to Sabonis grabbing his ankle, and then it's the statement by Joe Dumars in the NBA last night. I don't know if Green deserved to get suspended. That's all. Because I don't think if it was you or me doing it, I think we'd be playing in game three.
We don't have a history of this type of foolishness, and that's the thing. And and I understand where you're coming from. Then punish him when he was doing the stuff back then. I think it's gotten completely carried away. I think during the regular season, you'll see less of the commissioner stepping in. And I think that this is the postseason and a lot of eyes on the league. Listen, this is a premier series right now. This is, as a matter of fact, this is the premier series right now. To see the Kings taking the champs to the break like this is the first time really in their playoff success under Steve Kerr that they've been in a 2-0 hole. This is a big spot right here. Now they're going to the Chase Center, and I think they win the next 4 games and win the series in 6, but they'll be doing it in game 3 without Draymond Green.
Yeah, they're going to be doing it in game 3 without Draymond, but they go back home. They've been great at home. They've been terrible on the road, and that's exactly how this series has played out up until this point in time. So Draymond Green suspended for game 3. Corey thinks it's just. I think it's a little sketchy by the NBA, but there's going to be no Green on the court for the Warriors for game 3. As far as the Knicks last night in Cleveland, run around the NBA, and then we'll look ahead to the playoff games later on tonight. This is obviously an unbelievable time of the year with the NBA playoffs, NHL Stanley Cup playoffs, baseball going on. I mean, there's just NFL draft is 8 days away, first round. Can't wait for that either. Listen, the Knicks got it's if you believe in the zigzag theory of playoff series, Corey, from a betting perspective, or you look at it and the Knicks got hammered last night by a Cleveland team that is inexperienced in the postseason outside of Donovan Mitchell for the most part and Jared Allen. But they got a big experience lesson game number 1. And in game number 2, they responded. They were more physical. They were better on the glass. Garland was fantastic in the game. They win a game by daylight without Donovan Mitchell going off. What did he finish the game with 17 points in the game? The Knicks got waxed in Cleveland last night.
Yeah, last night was tough, but really, if you break it down, to me, the Knicks are still a better team than the Cleveland Cavaliers. When it boils down to it, the Cavaliers, they outscored the Knicks 34-17 in the second quarter. And the back end of that second quarter, the Knicks cut that lead to 9. And then all of a sudden, the Knicks started turning the ball over. The Cavs started hitting through, Garland started hitting threes. They went on that run, and then they closed the second. That lead went from 9 to 20 in a matter of 3 minutes, and they come out in the second half and couldn't get it going. But really, they've only really lost or been outplayed 1 quarter out of the 8 they've played this series. Now, Cleveland was in a had-to-have-it spot. Then the Knicks shot less than 20% from threes last night. I believe Brunson was 1 from 8 from deep. So the balls wasn't going in last night, but I still feel confident that the Knicks are a better team than the Cleveland Cavaliers. So I like the Knicks in the series. But I think it's going to be a good series. Knicks in 6 or 7.
Yeah, I'm not so. I'd be tough. It'd be hard pressed for me to think the Knicks can win on the road in Cleveland for a game 7. I think it was. So? Yeah, I'm not so sure. I would say this. I think Cleveland They were better on the glass last night. They were
Yeah.
+7. They were -15 in game number 1. If the Knicks aren't going to be able to win this series unless they get something out of Barrett, Grimes, and Quickly, and you can't
This
have
is
those
the
three. You can't have those three combining for 28 points in a game and expect to win.
this
Outside
is
of
the Barrett thing is a problem.
Well, outside of
Yeah.
what you're getting from the guys in Julius Randle and obviously Jalen Brunson, the two mainstays that have been in that lineup, even though Randle coming back from the ankle injury, those three have got to be better. And there's no doubt, Corey. But last night they weren't, and I think it'll change. I think that I would expect the Knicks to win Game 3 at Madison Square Garden. That place is going to be rocking on Friday night. It's going to be an absolute blast watching and seeing what that.
Yeah, but they kind of did the Knicks a disservice. The Friday night is great. That's a great spot right there. But then they come back 1:00 on Sunday. If you're a Knicks supporter, you want that game on Monday night because you want that night crowd at the Garden. You don't want that brunch crowd on Sunday afternoon. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I don't think they can do that because they got the Rangers.
Ah, that's right. I forgot about that. Yes, correct. Yeah, that's right. Because the Rangers, they're in the postseason every year. So, you don't really have to, they're not used to having to plan around the Knicks. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So the Rangers have got a home game against the Devils on Monday night. So that's the issue. The Rangers, the Garden's going to be rocking starting on Friday. You've got the Knicks Friday night. You got the Rangers 8:00 on Saturday night. That's going to be an ABC standalone game.
Nice.
Rangers Devils. Then you've got the Knicks Sunday afternoon, as Corey just mentioned. And then Monday night at 7:00, you've got Rangers and Devils at the Garden. And then Tuesday, Billy Joel. As Nick Durst fired out. Joel fans that were ticked off. He usually plays Saturday nights. They had tickets to go see him this Saturday night, and then the schedules came out, and Billy Joel had to get moved to Tuesday night at the Garden.
Wow, it's a big week in the city. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what's going to happen on Wednesday. You know what I mean? But hopefully it goes well. Or maybe we have a Subway Series. But listen, if I'm not tripping off of that. If I'm a Knicks fan, which I'm not, I would say this. I wouldn't worry too much about what happened. I think that game was a 3 or 4 minute span, really came down to where the Knicks were turning the ball over and the Cavs were hitting their shots and the Knicks wasn't. I think a shot goes in here or there, a turnover doesn't happen. You go into halftime down 10, you come out in the second half, you can withstand the run and not fall that deep behind. So I would not worry about it. I still think the Knicks are a better team, and the Knicks have been good on the road this year. They can go into Cleveland and win. I think the series, games 5, 6, and 7, or at least 5 and 6, will tell the tale of the series.
I think you're probably right about that. I'm not as
optimistic.
No, I wouldn't say optimistic, as confident as you, I would say,
okay.
Corey, about the Knicks. I think this series can go. It's a 4-5 matchup in the Eastern Conference. I'm not necessarily as bullish as you are on the Knicks. I think Cleveland, they're a really good defensive team. You saw that last night. If the Knicks are going to have trouble offensively, that's going to be a problem. How limited Hart did play last night with the ankle injury, just how limited or effective can Hart play with an ankle that we know is not going to get better with playing on it. How effective is Josh Hart now going to be with this ankle injury? Then you throw in, Julius Randle and everything that comes along with Julius. We know how good Brunson can be. And if you get me the backcourt going of Garland and Donovan Mitchell, they could be, as they were last night, they could be dynamic. You look at it, one night, one guy went for 38. The next night, the other guy went for 33, I think Garland finished with last night. They win the game by 17 points. Now, that's going to be an issue. I also think pace of play. We all look at it. The Knicks have got to play and pick up the tempo in the game. It doesn't necessarily play to their strengths of their team, but the Cleveland Cavaliers are one of the more slow-playing teams in the association. So the Knicks have got to be able to tempo the game at the correct pace and make Cleveland as uncomfortable as possible, because the Cavs are okay playing a little slow because they're a really good defensive team.
They want to get into the half court and slug it out with you.
Well, that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
And they got two guys that can get to the free throw line, in Mitchell and Garland. But I think the Knicks do match up well. I would say to you this. When we go back to Cleveland for game 5, what's the series?
I think it's 2-2.
If it's 2-2, then, and I would say that it would probably be, I would guess it would be 2-2 going back to Cleveland. And then I think we see in Game 5 that the Knicks are a better team, because I think Cleveland has better players, but the Knicks are a better team.
Fair enough. I hope you're right. I mean, Corey, I hope you're dead on correct. I hope we get the Knicks winning this series and marching on to the next round, because you know why? The other big news coming out of yesterday is that Giannis is doubtful for Game 2 for the Milwaukee Bucks, as he came down hard on his back in Game number 1. Miami won Game 1, Game 2 in this series back in Milwaukee, and if he doesn't play, I mean, if he's not on the court tonight for the Milwaukee Bucks against Miami. And that was a late report, because it seemed to be that he was trending in the direction that he was going to give it a go and he was going to play in Game 2. I get the Reggie Miller comment about Tyler Hero and Giannis the other night, Corey, which made little to no sense, that the Tyler Hero injury is a bigger injury than Giannis is for the Milwaukee Bucks.
That's ridiculous.
That's ridiculous.
I don't like when Reggie Miller is on the game, I'm like, oh man. And maybe that's because, I have that Knick history and I don't like Reggie Miller. But it's not a joy when Reggie Miller is on the broadcast. Now, the thing with Giannis don't strike me as a guy to miss playoff games. So I think he's going to go out there and give it his all to go out there. As far as Tyler Hero, Tyler Hero is the same player he was as a rookie in the bubble. He hasn't gotten any better. Like, he reached his ceiling in the bubble. And it's just been the same thing since then.
He's reached his ceiling on the court and off the court.
Yeah. So this guy, he's maxed out at 25. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not a, Tyler Hero's okay, but he's not a big deal. At least I would like to know what Reggie means by that. Giannis is, listen, if Chris Middleton and Giannis are on the court, the Milwaukee Bucks are very difficult to beat. Now, I find it interesting that Miami was able to kind of dominate that first game.
Yeah.
They played very well. They've played. This is the third time these two teams are meeting up. When they met in the bubble, Milwaukee was clearly the favorite, and that was the summer of 2020. You know what I mean? So,
and everyone,
the Bucks was out of it, basically. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and remember they came out and they issued a statement. They weren't going to take the court.
Yeah.
There was a lot going on in our country and our society at that time, right? It really was. So it is. It's hard to look back at that series.
So the next year they met, and I thought Miami was going to give them a good fight, and the Bucks swept them with no problem. So now I'm like, now I'm confused. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, because Miami was the 1 seed this time last year. They were a 3 away from beating Boston, who we look at as a wagon. But when I look at Jimmy Butler, Kyle Lowry, I'm like,
they're old.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Lowry is. Butler's still
for 18 years.
I mean, Butler's still an assassin. I mean, he just is. I mean, Butler's one of those guys that, he'll be 55 years old playing on the hard court looking to embarrass 20-year-olds. I mean, that's what Jimmy Butler's going to go out there. You know that. I mean, he's just got that. He's just that. Hey,
people talk about. He had a good bubble too, Jimmy Butler. But
no, he did. Yes, no doubt.
Neither here nor there.
Yes. Speaking of, yes, he did have. There was. I can say something. I won't say it. Yes, no doubt. Jimmy Butler had a good bubble. It was an enjoyable experience for him. I look at, I don't know what to make of this game. I mean, Milwaukee's a 6.5-point favorite going into tonight. Yeah, the questions and the concerns about Giannis, and if the reports are true and that he's doubtful to give it a go, then the back injury's got to be really bad, Corey. Like, if he's not going to be able to give it a go, then that's more than just a bruise or a slight bruise. Like, he's having trouble walking.
If Giannis can't play, he's in trouble.
Yeah, because I do agree with you. Like, I do think Giannis is a gamer. I think Giannis is one that will play through pain. I think Giannis is not one that's, super where if he can give it a go, he feels like whatever version of himself is going to help his team go out there and win. So that would be concerning. I wouldn't touch the game tonight. Like, I really wouldn't. I have no idea what to expect. If Giannis plays, how limited is he? If he doesn't play, what does this version look like for a Miami team that didn't look good in the play-in round, looked great in Game 1, but now Miami's got blood in the water. For a veteran-laden team led by a head coach in Spoelstra, say 5 hours from now, word comes out Giannis is not playing tonight in game 2. Would you be surprised if the Heat go up 2-0 in this series?
No, I wouldn't be surprised if the Heat went up 2-0 in this series. And then if you're the Bucks, you got to start to do a little bit of soul searching now, because you didn't have a great playoff run last year. Then you won the championship, but you haven't had a great playoff run last year, and then this year starting off to the slow start as well. When I look at it, you kind of feel like Milwaukee should have enough though to pull it off and get the victory. They're 6.5-point favorites tonight. To me, that number is in a spot where you could go either way. If Giannis plays, it could go up 7.5, 8.5. It could come down if he's listed as out. I would guess that Giannis is going to go out there and try to go tonight. I think when he had that hyperextended knee, that looked like a serious injury, and he was able to bounce back off of that. Yeah, I think Giannis is out there, and if he's not, then we really got to be serious about the
He's
Miami
not.
Heat.
I mean, this is the ultimate for Miami.
Yeah,
It really is. I mean, because Giannis returned for a game 3 that can completely change the complexion of the series. Wouldn't stun you if Milwaukee came back and win the series, because the Bucks are the number 1 seed. But just what version of Giannis are you going to get? And you can't dig yourself too big of a hole. But Miami's got to see blood in the water right now when you look at it. And yes, Tyler Hero's a loss for the Miami Heat. There's no question about it. We're not downplaying it, but we're talking about the very fact of, is he as big of a loss as Giannis is for the Milwaukee Bucks? That makes little to no sense.
These dudes are not. I don't look at these players like I said. To me, Hero capped out early. Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, they have like the role players of the role players.
Well, but they all know but that's the point, Corey.
They can't really hit threes consistently because Hero is not a 3-point shooter consistently. Butler doesn't shoot three at all. Yeah. Kyle Lowry been in the league for 19 years. When I look at this team, I don't really see a team that is a contender outside of what Butler can do in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, well, Butler's a finisher. I mean, Butler's a guy that you wish you could take his DNA and his compete level and give it to, every athlete out there, because he's remarkably competitive.
He's going to compete. He's going to try.
And he's going to try, and he's not the most athletically gifted player in the NBA, but he is not going to outwork you. He's not going to, he's not going to be scared of the moment. Like, there's a lot of things to like about what Jimmy Butler is on the basketball court. Yeah,
their team is built funny.
Like, I think there's a role for Tyler Hero in the NBA. Like, I like Tyler Hero a little bit more than you do, Corey, as a player. I do. I think he is important in being able to shoot the ball from the outside, be able to finish with the rims. He does have short arms for a kid his size. That was the criticism of him coming out of Kentucky. So to
me, he's invisible in the fourth quarter too much.
Yeah, well, but now you look at it is, okay, so you take Tyler Hero off Miami, you take Giannis off of Milwaukee, who wins the game tonight? I mean, I think it's I feel more confident in taking Miami plus the 6.5 than Milwaukee laying the 6.5.
Now I see a little bit of what Reggie Miller meant, because with Hero they got Max Strus and Gabe Vincent, but Hero is the most consistent outside shot that they have. He's the guy that they probably would go through.
Corey, the statement makes no sense.
Why you say that?
Because it doesn't. The story makes no sense. You can't tell. You can't.
I know what you're saying on there exactly.
No, not your statement. I'm talking about Reggie Miller's statement. I'm talking about no, Reggie Miller's statement makes no sense. Like, I can't take a guy that I could argue is the MVP of the league off Milwaukee, and then telling me, well, that's not as big of a loss as it is for Tyler Hero and the Miami Heat. Like, sometimes guys, I think, just say things for the sake of saying things. And it's like, do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? Like, do you understand what you're saying? Like, and I like Reggie Miller. I do, even though he's a pain in the rear end to my Knicks growing up. I like Reggie Miller as an analyst. Like, I think he's thought, he's fun. He has a good time. I like when he, the NCAA tournament, like, there's things with Reggie Miller that I've liked as an analyst. That was one of the most ludicrous statements I've ever heard.
That was pretty ludicrous. Reggie Miller, whatever. I was upset last night, to be honest, when I saw he was on. I was like, did they do this to Knick fan or to former Knick fans on purpose? You know what I'm saying? But crazy statement. I get it that what he does as a 3-point shooter, but the Bucks are a solid veteran team.
They are,
that can go into Miami and get some wins. But I think everybody that needs a win. Cleveland needed a win last night. They got to win. Milwaukee needs a win tonight. They should get a win.
We'll see what happens later on tonight. Let's react to the last two games, the other two games from last night before we look ahead to the two other games tonight outside of Milwaukee, Miami. That's the middle game. First game on the schedule this evening is Lakers and Grizzlies. You're going to get a 10 o'clock start once again out in Denver as the Nuggets are entertaining the Minnesota Timberwolves. But last night, the Boston Celtics, I mean, you might as well just end the series now. And it's not all that surprising. But, Boston having their way with the Atlanta Hawks. They win that game by 13, 119 to 106, your final. Tatum nearly the triple-double, 29, 10, and 6. Atlanta just can't stop anybody. I mean, it's just – This is not a case of Boston turning it around. This is just the perfect matchup for the Boston Celtics because Atlanta doesn't defend. So if you're not going to defend and you have a team that in Boston that's willing defender, Jaylen Brown's a willing defender, Marcus Smart's a willing defender, Robert Williams, but they're going to make this series very, very easy on the Boston Celtics, the Atlanta Hawks. And right now, I have a hard time envisioning. I mean, maybe we get to 5 games in this series, but I think in all likelihood, this is going to be a sweep.
Nah, this will probably get the Hawks up out of here after these 2 games. They go down to Atlanta, wrap these 2 up, and get back up here and get ready for what should be a fascinating series against the Philadelphia 76ers. With that being said, it's just a difference. Listen, the Hawks are opposite of what the Knicks are. The Knicks are a good team. The Hawks are a collection of individuals. There is no – it's a talented bunch. They should be able to hang with Boston, but I don't know, as coaching, the team, the culture, it's something that's totally different. Even when you thought Atlanta was in the game, Boston hit a couple threes and pushed the lead back up to 15. And they kind of stayed. They were very comfortable. They've been comfortable all throughout this series. Atlanta has not really pushed them. And Atlanta's notoriously inconsistent, play a good game, play a bad game. They've played back-to-back bad games now, and they probably got 2 more bad games in them as well. So if looking at this series should be continue to cakewalk, but I would look at it further is how do you fix Atlanta? How do you get Atlanta to be a top 4 seed in the East? This is a team that was in the conference finals 2 years ago. Obviously, it doesn't look like Trae Young is going to be back. If I'm Atlanta, I don't want no picks. I want a player that I can put with Murray and Capella and those guys, and I need a starter to replace him.
Yeah, I don't know you think Trae Young's definitely going to be traded by Atlanta?
I think they got to move on.
I mean, what are you going to get though?
That's interesting. You don't think he has any value, right?
No, I wouldn't say that. I'm saying, are you going to get equal value for what Trae Young is as a player? Like Trae Young is the reason. Like, is Trae Young the reason why Atlanta is relevant, or the reason why Atlanta has not gotten better?
And then the reason why Atlanta has not gotten better.
I look at Trae Young as being the reason why the Atlanta Hawks are relevant. Who else is on that team is going to get you?
DeJounte Murray. Listen, that's the thing. Maybe they need to be a team. Young seems to be outside of the team. It's like he's run coaches. Put it like this. He don't even hit 3-pointers no more. That was his whole game. Young is like 1 for 8 from 3 every game now. His shot is gone. He don't play defense. He's a bad teammate. He's had coaches run. What happened to son?
Yeah, I go back, and I'm not telling you that he has been this year has been the best version of Trae Young, and maybe Quinn Snyder can help unlock and find that guy that was that burgeoning superstar that he was 3 years ago or has been in the NBA. I mean, I also don't think – I think if you take Trae Young off the Atlanta Hawks, they go back into irrelevancy.
I don't know.
DeJounte Murray, John Collins. I mean, look at the –
if you're the 76ers, right, and Atlanta calls you and be like, I give you Trae Young for Tyrese Maxey.
I don't know if the Sixers would make that trade.
Yeah, the Sixers wouldn't make that trade. 100%.
I don't think the 70. I think they love Tyrese Maxey because of what he does offensively and defensively, and he just had 33 the other night. Game
probably a better dude, to be a better locker room guy than Young is.
Yeah, and I mean, Joel Embiid would be like, how, what exactly, how much do you need to put on my plate here as a leader?
Yeah, now I gotta carry this guy.
I not only have to, like, I should be the MVP every year. I not only have to carry Doc as a coach. I've got, James Harden, who looks, is basically dribble, then passes the ball, is no longer the same player that he once was, has not adjusted the game because he has not aged well. And now you throw Trae Young into the mix. That it would be.
All right, so Moose, how's this? You call Brooklyn and you say, I give you Trae Young, give me Mikal Bridges.
No way.
There you go. We're down to Mikal Bridges.
But Mikal Bridges is a great player.
And you would think that Young is too, though, right?
No, I'm not saying True Young's not, but Mikal Bridges is a guy that is also a great player, great leader. There's nothing not to like. I don't know if the Nets are. I think the Nets have also. You got to give them a little bit of time after they went star chasing with Durant, Harden, and the Durant, Harden, Kevin Durant, Durant, Harden, and Kyrie Irving. I think you got to give the Brooklyn Nets a little bit of time to heal those wounds after the last 3 years because those wounds run deep. To the point where how about the report yesterday, Corey, that Ben Simmons is now fired up in rehab, and they believe that at some point Ben Simmons can find his all-star form once again. Can we stop with this nonsense?
Please stop. What a weird career path. Like,
oh my God,
on track to be a Hall of Famer to a dude that's going to be out the league. It's amazing.
Do that it's like you're like, did Ben Simmons even play this year? Like the last, Ben Simmons is barely ever on the court.
But he's played more than Zion.
Yeah, right. Zion's only played 114 games in his NBA career, right?
Hey, okay, so here it is. It's Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal for Trae Young.
Yeah, I think. But Beal seems to like losing and likes Washington.
And exactly. And then if you do Beal for Young, the teams are the same. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know where Trae Young can go to revive his career. Maybe it's the Lakers.
Let me ask you this. If you were the Dallas Mavericks, would you rather have Trae Young or Kyrie Irving?
That's a tough call right there.
I'd rather have Trae Young.
Wow, that's a tough one right there. Kyrie Irving's a more skilled player, but you just
there we go. We're getting into I've heard that. Every conversation about Kyrie, it's the most skilled.
He's the most skilled.
Yes. I heard Jalen Rose say he voted for him third team last year, all NBA after playing 29 games in the regular season. It was like insane.
Boy,
he's mesmerized by his skill.
And that's what it is. Great. That's what keeps him employed.
Yeah, but everything. No one's. I agree with you. I'm busting your chops, Corey. No one doubts that his talent and ability. Like Kyrie Irving's unbelievably skilled, but there's everything else that comes along with it as well. So let me ask you, what would you? And I know you're not a big Trae Young fan. You know the answer is Trae Young.
I probably would take. Wow, it's tough, man.
No, you take Trae Young.
I would take Trae Young because the thing with Irving is it's not. I compare it to this. I don't want to say the name of the company, but it's a company in the industry, right? And people, it's like it's no retirement. It's like you don't leave and move to Florida. You know what I'm saying? It's like it ends bad. With Kyrie Irving, it ends bad. There is no moving to Florida and just chilling and sitting out the stretch. It's going to end bad with Kyrie Irving.
I wonder what is that company? Can you text that to me? I'm curious.
Yeah, I'll let you know. I'll put it in the group chat.
I'd take Trae Young over Kyrie, but we'll come back. We'll talk a little bit about the Suns and the Clippers, and we'll get into the two matchups tonight in the NBA. Dave Barnett will join us at the top of the 11 o'clock hour, get into some golf bets as well. We've got some NFL news to get into. We've also got the Stanley Cup playoffs, a little Major League Baseball, because Clayton Kershaw looked pretty good for the Los Angeles Dodgers. We'll get into that as well. He's Corey Parson, the fantasy exec. I'm Mark Malusis. The show is Moose and Keith on a Wednesday right here. Thanks for being with us, Better Sports Network.
Moose and Keith. Weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern.
The word genius is there. Bob Glover, it describes him. Bob, so when's the last time that Twitter defeated you? Because I've been defeated by Twitter today.
I'll tell you how Twitter defeated me one time. I had the mistaken impression that The year that Troy Polamalu won the Defensive Player of the Year, it looked like it was going to go to Clay Matthews Jr. And I tweeted it. And there was a guy on the media bus. He was like, oh, yeah, he's got it. A guy I trust. I won't tell you who it was, but his initials are Mike Garofalo. So I went with it. Got a DM from Rich Eisen, NFL Network. He goes, you sure about that? I go, oh, man. Oh, I just got this wave because like accuracy to me is really important.
Yeah.
So I'm literally on the media bus. We're just getting back from media day. We are slipping and sliding in Dallas. It's snowing. I get off the bus. I open my laptop. I'm hunched over, and I just like literally people are passing me. Bob, what's wrong? And it was Polamalu, and Adam Schefter had retweeted me. Trey Wingo had retweeted me. I'm like, oh, I'm dead.
So when it's Polamalu, then how do you handle that? Like, what was the subsequent tweet
I think
afterwards?
I said, got some bad Twitter info. I didn't put Garofalo's name on there. I had to
10 years later, you can out him. I like that. Yeah.
You know, he wouldn't mind that. He knows the stories. So.
Yeah.
He actually said to me, hey, Bob, I think you might have jumped the gun on that. I was like, oh, crap. There we go.
Campus to Canton on the Better Sports Network.
Would Dion bench Shedeur?
I don't think he would.
Like, how bad would it have to be? Because we've seen horrendous quarterback play from this Colorado team for the last, 5 years? JT Shroud, Brandon Lewis, just terrible quarterback play. Like, they were 131st, which is dead last in passing PA per play. Obviously, it will be better, but how bad does it have to be for him to bench his own son? Like, I'm not sure he will ever either. Like, especially with the attitude that he came in with.
If they don't get Rashada, who do they bench him for this year anyway? I don't know that there's another answer on that roster that you go to. They don't really have a guy behind him. So I don't even know if we would know the answer to that until the next year, assuming that, he doesn't declare for the draft, he returns, they bring somebody else that's competent and behind him.
If they're going to do this the Lincoln Riley way, next year would be the class to bring somebody in. Shedeur Sanders is going to be a third-year player. So he's going to play 2023. I don't think he's declaring for the 2024 NFL draft. So he's going to play in 2024 and then declare for the 2025 NFL draft. And let's remember this. He hasn't had a full recruiting cycle at Colorado. He will have that next recruiting cycle. So maybe he could get one of these class of 2024 quarterbacks there to come to Colorado.
However you're invested in sports, from betting to fantasy, collectibles, and more, join our community on Better Sports Network.
Brain goes numb, you can call that mental freeze. When these people talk too much, put that shit in slow motion, yeah.
Mark Malus is with you. Corey Parson, the fantasy exec. It's a Wednesday right here on on obviously Better Sports Network. And Corey, let's talk a little bit about the very fact of the Suns responding last night against the Los Angeles Clippers. That was a game we talked about before, zigzag theory of NBA playoffs. Suns are home, Clippers obviously. You needed Phoenix to respond, and they did in kind last night to make that a 1-1 series going back to Los Angeles.
Yeah, 1-1 series going back. Now, my thing with this series is I underestimated this, at least I think so far. I had Suns in 5. I'm not a Russell Westbrook guy at all. With that being said, what I underestimated was the fact that the Suns don't have no bench. Like Bismack Biyombo, Landry Shamet. This is what's on the Suns bench. They
stink.
This is a lot of pressure. Kevin Durant, Booker, Ayton, Chris Paul.
Look at the amount of minutes to play to your point. Durant 44 minutes, Craig 32 minutes, Ayton 32 minutes, Paul 38 minutes, and Booker 45 minutes last night.
And this is going to be 6-7 game series. And then you got to go play in the altitude in Denver. To me, this makes me look differently at the Suns, who came in as the favorite in the Western Conference. It's the glamour and glitz of Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, not Chris Paul. But you got to have a bench, too. Like, them dudes got to get rest, or else they're going to get hurt. They're going to play too much, and they're going to risk injury. So that's my first takeaway is how bad the Suns' bench is.
Unless you make quick work of the series.
It's already 1-1.
No, right. Well, that motto or that theme has kind of gone out the window because of how they played, and they blew that 9-point lead in game 1, and the Clippers and Kawhi showed themselves. And yeah, if you're going to look at Los Angeles, got a deeper team, better bench. But are you going to say, okay, well, that's starting 5? If you're a Suns believer, you're going to say, well, my starting 5 is going to be clearly better than anything you roll out there. And I believe based on the way that they spread the postseason out, that in these games out in these series, Corey, that they're going to be able to get enough rest in between games to where they can be able to log that many minutes. The other thing that throws into it, which I think is a great point on your part, is can they physically hold up? When you look at Paul and look at Kevin Durant, those two guys have a history of getting hurt in the postseason.
That's the case with Kevin Durant.
Right. Well, Durant's got a history of getting hurt. So Paul,
I mean, but and Chris Paul got a history of not winning championships too. But it is what it is. You know, it's going to be tough when they're logging that many minutes, but they're going to play that hard. It's the first round. It's only going to get more difficult from here. Second thing is, I forgot. You're talking about uncoachable. Can you imagine having to coach Kawhi Leonard because he flies to his own drum? I forgot how good he was because he barely plays, and then I'm not staying up 11 o'clock to watch the Clippers and the Spurs. So when you see him playing in these type of games, it's like, wow, man, this guy is really good. It's a lockdown defender. He has the clutch gene. He can get a bucket. He can get to the free throw line. He can neutralize his man. He's a fabulous player, and he's still going. But I guess now he just saved himself for the playoffs because you rarely see him during the regular season. But when they need him, he's tough, man. He's a very good player still at this age.
Yeah, he is. Kawhi's great. I mean, he's a great player. He's fun to watch. He's a guy that plays on both ends, takes great pride in which you wish he played a little bit more during the regular season. He hasn't. He's accomplished so much over the course of his career already. And now the cherry on the top would be winning a championship with the Los Angeles Clippers. The big key for them to be able to do that is, can they withstand the Phoenix Suns in this series and get Paul George back potentially for the next series? And if you have Paul George and Kawhi on the court for the Clippers, then all the aspirations and everything that we talked about before the start of the year when you looked at the Los Angeles Clippers can come true. They can get through the Western Conference if those two are able to stay healthy based on everything else around them and the bench that they have. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I like the Suns going into this series, Corey. After watching the first two games, I don't know if I necessarily like the Suns the rest of the season.
I'm with you. I was big on the Suns coming into this, and now seeing the dynamic of this team and how it's really nothing on that bench. And I'm like, oh boy, because this is going to be problematic with these players are playing this much minutes. And then just even last night, Clippers came right out and jumped on top of them, and they had to give everything to get back into that game, and eventually end up taking the league and getting the win. Emotional series too, with guys like Russell Westbrook involved and Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. So it's going to be a tough series. They split at home. You got to feel as if this is going to come back to Phoenix for Game 5, tied up, and that's when we're going to need the best. How much are the Suns going to have if they're playing 38 minutes a night?
How about Lakers and Grizzlies later on tonight in Memphis? A 7:30 tip. Lakers lead the series 1-0. They played fantastic. Everyone realizing that Reeves can actually play for the Los Angeles Lakers after witnessing Game 1. LeBron did his thing. Anthony Davis did his thing. Memphis comes out of that game with Ja Morant getting hurt, and we'll get into the charge, no charge, and should that be eliminated in the NBA, whether it's a basketball play, a pure basketball play, or whether it's not. We'll get the thoughts of Corey and myself here momentarily, but listen, I think for Memphis, if they were whole and if they were healthy, they're not. Whether it be Adams, Clark, and now Ja Morant. And Morant's not done for the series, but I don't know if he's going to be able to give it a go in Game 2 later on tonight.
I'm hearing Morant will play tonight.
Well, I mean, just how effective is he going to be?
That I don't know. I know he tried to get back into the game on Sunday. They wouldn't allow him to get back into the game. He's not 100%, but the hand is bothering him. But he does feel as if he's going to get out there and give it a go tonight, was what I heard recently as yesterday. So I think he's out there. I think it's another close one. Here's the thing. Steven Adams and Brandon Clark, that's humongous. Memphis would have blown this team out. Now I think it's more of a series. I think it's a long series, but I think Memphis will take the series as Ja gets healthier. I thought what Austin Reeves did in Game 1 was fantastic. Like, he really won that game. They were back and forth, nip and tuck, and then he kind of went on that run around the time when Morant went out. And listen, when Morant goes out, Tyus Jones is the best backup point guard in the NBA. he can be a starter on a lot of teams in this league. Maybe Atlanta should go get him. You know what I'm saying? But I look at Memphis as having a tad bit more talent, but I think the Lakers are going to push him to the brink.
I think the Lakers are going to win the series.
Yeah,
and I didn't like them before the start. I think the loss of Adams and where Adams and Clark both not being a part of this series hurts Memphis.
You think
And
the Lakers win tonight?
I'm not so sure. I wouldn't touch the game. I mean, the Lakers right now are a 1-point favorite. It was a pick 'em yesterday. All the money's coming in on Los Angeles. The total in the game is sitting at 226.5. It's one of those games similar to Milwaukee and Milwaukee and Miami, Corey, that I just wouldn't touch the game. I don't.
Milwaukee is Memphis is the best time to bet on Memphis. This is the best time to bet on any team. This is not shocking, but Memphis is very good as a home underdog.
That's fair, but now are they good as a home underdog with Morant
banged up?
Plays, right? If he plays, dealing with a soft tissue injury, where the report yesterday was the pain was a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
What version of Ja Morant am I going to get tonight if I'm a Memphis Grizzlies fan? And I love everyone saying, well, they were great when Ja Morant was hurt during the regular season.
Okay. Regular season.
Yeah, but not just that, but Clark and Adams are there.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And they look, I mean, so now if I'm taking, okay, for argument's sake, if Morant plays, but we know he's not 100%. There's no way you can get a 100% version of Ja Morant after he's dealt with a soft tissue injury and dealing with the pain he's dealing with. So say it's 85% of Ja Morant tonight, and I don't have Clark, and I don't have Adams, and the Lakers matchup-wise, there are things that benefit the Los Angeles Lakers, the ability to rebound the basketball without Steven Adams, Anthony Davis down low. Like, it's hard for me to envision. I don't disagree that the when you discount Memphis, they've been really good in the regular season, but this is now game 2, and I've taken a lot of talent off of the court for the Memphis Grizzlies as well.
One of the things that the Memphis does have, unlike Phoenix, is their depth, where they can go to a guy like Xavier Tillman. They can pull Tyus Jones. I can't think of the young man. I think his name is Lofton, the guy that they brought up from the G League in the Memphis Hustle. And then, you still have Jaren Jackson, who's an all-star as well. But the thing with Memphis is they need, like, John Concher and Luke Kennard. They got to hit those threes. That helps take some of the pressure off Ja. The knock against Ja has been Ja will go out and get his 32, but he doesn't make his teammates better. This could be a time for him to make his teammates better while his hand gets healthy.
Yeah, don't disagree. And then you get to the late game tonight, Denver and Minnesota. And the Nuggets sitting right now, I believe it's an 8.5-point favorite. They are. The total in the game is sitting at 222 tonight, Corey. And I just think you're going to get more of the same that you saw in game number 1. Like, it's one of those series. Celtics, I would never take the Atlanta Hawks plus the points.
No.
I would never take the Brooklyn Nets plus the points against Philadelphia. They've lost all 6 times they faced them. I have the Brooklyn Nets against the 76ers. Philly's just flat out better. And even though they didn't play well in the first half the other night, they had their way with them in the second half, and specifically the fourth quarter. Like, I can't make an argument sitting here on this Wednesday chatting with you, Corey, to take the Minnesota Timberwolves. I don't think they'll be as bad. They looked exhausted in game 1. I don't think they'll be as bad in game 1 tonight, but I still don't think they cover the 8.5.
No, I don't think they cover the 8.5 either. I wouldn't touch it. I think listen, if you want to take 4.5 or maybe 5.5 in the first half, that's maybe a wager that you can do. Other than that, you might as well just go to bed and get ready for tomorrow if you're on the East Coast, because ain't nothing really to see here betting wise. Interesting moving
Unless
forward.
you take Denver and you load up on the Nuggets and you sit there, get the popcorn out, and you celebrate.
Yeah, exactly. And you stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning. If that's your life, that's good with you. I'll be in the bed by then. You know what I'm saying? But this whole thing with they mortgaged their future for Rudy Gobert, disaster. They might get relegated. I mean, this is you're wasting prime talent in Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards. It's bottom of the West team moving forward.
Now, I mentioned it before, Corey, about the charge. We saw injuries. Giannis, Ja Morant. There were some, blazing hot takes because there's not much else to talk about the fact that the charge is not a basketball play, and maybe it's something that needs to be eliminated in the NBA based on player safety. I think that's nonsense. I gotta be honest with you. I mean, like, what are we doing here? Now you're just gonna open the game up even more. So you're gonna eliminate You're going to eliminate the ability to go out and take a charge where you establish position in the lane. You're going to allow guys to basically have free run to the rim. Like, what are we doing?
No, that now we're really going to see scores. That team scored 200.
Oh my God, guys are going to average like 45 a game. Like, it's going to be embarrassing.
We're going to see teams start to score 200 points a night.
Kareem's going to be like, "What are you doing? You're going to destroy me!" Like, all of a sudden, like I'm going to be like 8th on the list after he just got passed by LeBron. I mean,
I know
Kareem, 40 points a game.
Kareem is going to be going to somebody breaking his record every year. You can't do that. Listen, these are the most athletic people in the world. High flying, making these moves. They trying to adjust their bodies. And sometimes, you know what I'm saying, when these gentlemen fall, things happen. With Morant, though, he has got to curtail his thing a bit, because Morant really takes on some high flying. Listen, as fans, you love it. He's had some of the best in-game dunks we've ever seen. With that being said, though, it's like you can't hurt yourself. Morant trying to dunk on somebody from the free throw line in the game, that's ridiculous. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I remember Morant's rookie season, All-Star weekend. This is pre-pandemic. All-Star was in Chicago, and NBA Cares was doing an event. They was handing out food or something, and Barack Obama met Morant, and Obama was talking, and Obama said to him, "You got to protect yourself better when you land." You know what I'm saying? And to this day, it remains to be true. He's got to protect himself better when he comes down, because I understand the youth and the athleticism, but you want to be out there for your team in these games like this.
Yeah, I don't think you're ever going to take, when a guy has the confidence, the athletic ability of John Morant to be what he wants and wants to try and do on the court, and he's going to have those kind of high-flying, jaw-dropping slams during the regular season where he takes on guys that are 8, 9, 10 inches taller than him, whatever it might be, right? So he's about 6'1", I think it is, right?
Yeah.
John Morant. So he's gonna, that's gonna happen from that's just the type of player he is. What bothers me, Corey, is like, as we work in sports, we do this on a day in, day out basis. We've both been doing it for quite some time. Do we all have to be kind of the react and overreact to everything, to a couple of injuries that happen on the court, to now giving me hot takes and debates about whether or not the charge should be eliminated from the game? I mean, like, we get to a point here. Come on, let's not be stupid. Let's really not. Like, let's try to avoid being dumb. Like, and like the whole idea now of taking it out of the game because Giannis gets hurt. And there was nothing cheap by Kevin Love. He just got caught up in the air and lost balance and fell on the court. I've seen guys fall on the court before. It doesn't necessarily mean they end up with a back contusion, taken out of the game. Like, it happens, right? It really does. And I've seen guys, John Morant, like, I've seen injuries happen. I saw Patrick Ewing fracture his wrist. Like, there are things that happen where it's caught up. And when big men and women are up in the air and they come crashing down onto the hard court, it's really not going to end all that well for more often than not.
It's not going to end all that well. So we can't eliminate the charge. You're going to see you're going to see a jump shooter land on somebody's ankle. You can't stop people from playing defense. But what we can stop, though, is people from stomping on their opponent's rib cage.
Well, that's true. Right. That's true.
We can stop.
And Corey, I can't believe on this Wednesday I'm actually defending Draymond Green because of the statement the NBA made. The statement was dopey. Joe, you said too much.
Yeah, exactly. The history part could have been left out.
Right. Joe, his greatest claim, he was a great player with the Pistons. His greatest claim to fame, one of them with the Pistons, or one of his worst moments, was the decision not to draft Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah, who was the dude they drafted instead? Dario,
the big center. What was his name?
Dario Saric. Was that his name?
No, it wasn't. Was it Dario Saric?
Dario Saric played another sport.
No, Darko.
Yeah, Darko Milicic. Yeah, that's right.
Yes. Baby J. Baby J, all he wants to do is talk about the Knicks in 6, wherever Baby J might be driving here on this Wednesday morning. Yes, we'll see what the Knicks do when they come back to Madison Square Garden Game 3 with that series.
Friday's going to be lit.
Oh my God, it's going to be crazy. We'll come back. We'll talk a little golf because Dave Barnett's going to join the program. Hop on a board with Corey, myself from Tour Junkies. Going to talk a little bit of golf, get some golf bets in, do that with him, and then we'll get into a little baseball, a little NFL, a little hockey playoffs. Plenty to get to in the final action-packed power hour. It's Moose and Keith on a Wednesday right here, Better Sports Network. Came out yesterday that Jalen Hurts signed a 5-year, $255 million contract extension with the Philadelphia Eagles, $179 million of that being guaranteed. You know what you didn't hear was any sort of criticism whatsoever. Why? Because Jalen Hurts is great. And the other reason why is I think Jalen Hurts, and everybody knows this, is a really good guy. He's an unbelievable leader. Great character, great guy on the field and off the field for the Eagles. During his collegiate days, actually made Nick Saban cry because he loved him so much. And if you're an Eagle fan right now, you have to be absolutely ecstatic. A guy that went 14-3 a year ago during the regular season, led the Philadelphia Eagles to the Super Bowl, is now going to be your quarterback one for years to come because he's that good of a player and he's that good of a human being. It's great when good guys win, is it not? All right, we're back. Corey Parson, the fantasy exec, Mark Malusis with you. Let's talk a little golf. Dave Barnett joins us now from Tour Junkies. Good morning, Dave. How are you, bud?
How we doing, boys? Good to see you,
well, Dave. We're doing really well. Let's start here. What do you make of this? Okay, from the event that's going on this week, explain what exactly is going on for the non-golf fan.
This is a team event, which, you know,
I don't love Dave. I don't love team events. I don't know.
Well, I love
golf.
I love the Ryder Cup. I love the President's Cup.
Yes.
I love those team events where you're representing your country. This feels like a member guest or like a member event where it's like everybody picks a buddy, and some of the pairings are unusual. Some of the pairings are repeat pairings every year, and they're just good friends and they play together. It's in Louisiana. It's hot as hell. It's on a Pete Dye course. The course is okay. It's not amazing. And it's just kind of been vanilla. It is different than what we see 42 other weeks of the year in professional golf, which is, you know, stroke play events where it's man versus man. But, I mean, guys, it's kind of a crapshoot. Like golf is already, I talk about this all the time. Golf's already extremely high variance to bet. And when you throw this into the mix and the format of how they play this team event, it's even more high variance. But last year, you did see the two best players in the field win. Patrick Cantlay and Xander Schauffele are best buddies, and that's a known fact. They play together in Ryder Cups and in President's Cups. Last year, they cleaned up and they won this thing, and they are 3-1 favorites to win this week. I'm not betting. I'm saving all units this week.
Interesting. Hey, you know, I was watching, I ran across this the other night on Amazon Prime. They got a little four episode docu-series on J.R. Smith with him playing college golf at North Carolina A&T. It's pretty cool to see like him assimilating into that and being a collegiate athlete and, you know, really learning golf at a competitive level. So, you know, I don't know if you've seen it, but I'm just letting you know that it's out there.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
No, I haven't watched that. I haven't watched that series, but I followed it closely when JR made those moves, and he was on a bunch of podcasts when that happened. I think now he has his own podcast where I think he talks about golf a good bit. But I remember when he made that move. I mean, he's a good golfer, dude. Like he picked it up late, but he's just a good athlete, and obviously, you know, he got some lessons, he got some teaching. I mean, he made that team, and it wasn't some like, you know, publicity stunt that they gave him a spot. Like he was good enough to play at the collegiate level, which is something that's really hard to do. So, and I think you know, MJ obviously a huge golfer, but I think for the modern player, like the modern NBA guy that's into golf, and there's more and more of them. If you look, I think J.R. Smith and Steph Curry kind of led the way there. Like those two guys have made it cool, and there's a lot of guys getting into it now.
Do you think he'll ever go on the PGA Tour, Steph Curry, or could he make the PGA Tour?
No,
it's too tough. Like, wait a minute, let's not get carried away.
Yeah, he did play. He got a sponsor's invite. I want to say this was a year, 2 or 3 ago. He got a sponsor's invite to play in a Corn Ferry Tour event, which is like the one level like just below the PGA Tour. It's where like the rookie class comes from the Korn Ferry Tour. Think of it like AAA baseball for the big leagues, right? It's like right there. He got a couple of exemptions into tournaments in those events, and I don't think he made the cut in any of them. I mean, he had some good days and had some good showings, but to be Steph's probably a zero handicap, so he's probably a scratch golfer on your weekend. If you saw him at a club, he'd be amazing. But it just the level of ability and talent that is, deep in the world of golf when it comes to that professional level and playing on a professionally set up golf course, he couldn't do it. Like
when you so you would make the same argument when Tony Romo is out there, right? Trying to make the US, like they're good, they're really good golfers. They're just pro golfers are on a different level.
They are just on a different level. Yeah, I mean, Tony Romo was the same way. I think Romo got a couple of sponsors invites into Korn Ferry Tour events as well, and completely, shit on himself. I mean, he was terrible. So,
but Dave, like, because we've never talked about this, and it's an interesting kind of conversation. How difficult is it, like, when you look at the other tours to try and make the PGA? Like, how many of those golfers like have been grinding away, and how difficult is that, like, of a lifestyle, in order to try and finally get their PGA card?
It's really rough, man. Like, it is the guys that are not on the PGA Tour, but they're trying to knock down the door. They are not making a ton of money. They are spending a lot of money. Their sponsorships are low end, low deal, few and far between sponsorships. They are grinding. So it's tough, man. And I mean, really, only 125 to 150 guys every year have somewhat of a PGA Tour job, a PGA Tour status full time. So that's not a lot. Like, I mean, that's a lot less players in the NFL and probably players in Major League Baseball. Like, there's only so many guys that on the PGA Tour level get to go out there and tee it up every single week, and there's players all over the world trying to do that.
So then, David, I don't mean to interrupt you because it just kind of had a train of thought, kind of a question. So then, what do you think separates, those that are, because there are really, like, there are guys that are on the Korn Ferry Tour, I'm sure, that like or playing a local track, and you're like, my God, he's an unbelievable golfer, but not good enough to make it to the PGA Tour. Like, what do you think separates those that are able to make it on the PGA Tour, not just make it, but have success and be able to maintain their card on the PGA Tour?
It's a complex answer, and it's probably different for different guys, right? But I mean, usually I think and
I'm not talking about like Tiger Woods, not talking about like the guy. Yeah, right. I'm talking about like the guy that wasn't like born to do this.
Yeah.
Like,
I think it comes down to a few things. It comes down to consistency. So being able to do it on a consistent basis on different type of golf courses, different weather conditions, different scoring conditions, being able to do that at any of those venues and doing it consistently. A lot of times it comes down to short game or putting or chipping or something. The number of guys who hit it forever off the tee and who flush their irons consistently is a lot. But there are a lot of those guys still not on the PGA Tour because they can't get the ball in the hole. They can't roll the rock. They can't putt. They can't chip. They have nothing to bail them out if they do make a bad shot or the weather's tough and they can't hit every single green in regulation. That's a factor. And the other thing that a lot of people don't realize is like the mental aspect and the confidence. You see this every year with guys who get a certain chance to play on a PGA Tour event, a PGA Tour level, and then all of a sudden they have one good week, and then they start rolling, and then they start realizing, okay, I can be here, I belong here. Sahith Theegala is a great example. The new rookie this year on tour, he had an episode in the Full Swing Netflix series, and he's a guy who's just been a grinder. He wasn't anything special in college. He wasn't anything special in mini tours or Korn Ferry Tour events. Nothing. I mean, he was on no one's radar, but he makes it, and he starts to play one or two events well on the PGA Tour. And these guys say this all the time. They go, I finally felt like I belonged at this level, because guys will get out there and go, holy shit, what am I doing here? On Mom, there's Rory. What am I doing? I don't belong here. I'm not good enough to be here. There's guys playing, not playing here that have beat my ass from AJGA to college and high school golf. Why am I here? And so they have no confidence. And if you don't have confidence on the golf course, it's a solo sport. You are screwed. And so then when those guys do have a good week and they do get something rolling a couple good weeks in a row, and they start to realize I am good enough to be here, that's when we see like the mental switch, flipped. So it's a lot of a mental thing too.
So let me ask you, and go back to the Masters right quick, right? Tiger Woods limping across the course, excuse me. It kind of like reminded me of like when like Larry Holmes finished off Muhammad Ali, or like when Shawn Michaels kicked Ric Flair, and you know what I'm saying? It had that kind of, just seeing him limping like that, it had like a finality to it. Do you think that's where we are at with Tiger Woods?
Man, I don't know. I don't. He's such a hard guy to count out. We've counted him out before, and then he's come back and done something. I think the plantar fasciitis thing that he has. I mean,
I've had it. It's terrible.
Yeah, and I was going to say we hear it a lot about sports. About athletes. Like, it is something that can go away, and it's not something that you like are doomed to deal with for the rest of your life. So you kind of hope he can get it remedied and it'll go away, but it may mean that we don't see him for another year. I definitely don't think Tiger Woods has played his last Masters.
Okay.
I don't know if Tiger Woods has played he may have played his last like PGA Tour event outside of the majors. I'm starting to think we're only going to see Tiger in majors where, number one, he feels somewhat healthy. Number two, the weather is not going to be terrible. And number three, the golf course is not so brutal to walk that he feels like he can get around it for 4 days if he makes the cut. So, but the odds of him never teeing it up at a regular run-of-the-mill PGA Tour event, I would say I don't know that we're going to see that again.
The rest of the year, not outside of this week, and I might pick your brain on just like what you think the most intriguing pairing is down in this event down in New Orleans. But is it going to be Scheffler and Rahm? I mean, it almost seems like every week it's just Scheffler and Rahm or Scheffler. It's remarkable what those two are accomplishing, Dave, but is that really what we're setting up for here the rest of the way in the PGA Tour? Because they're playing at an unbelievable level and they're remarkably consistent, and there's not anybody that's really close to them right now.
Yeah, me and Pat were talking about it yesterday. Like, it does feel like it's two guys, and then it's like a group of maybe another 10 guys, and then it's kind of everybody else. But the separation between the top two and those next 10 feels like the gap is wide. I mean, we've had 8 of those elevated events on the PGA Tour, which are those events that have been given a higher status, higher purse. All the big names are there. We've had 8 of those, and either Rahm or Scheffler has won 5 of them. I mean, those guys are absolutely on a run that we've not seen in a while. So, and they really show no sign of stopping. I mean, Scotty Scheffler had his B game at Heritage just last week and still played great. He still hit the ball so good. He just couldn't putt that week. That kind of comes and goes. So, I mean, for the foreseeable future, I think, yes, it might just be those two. Now, I do think guys like Jordan Spieth, Jordan last week showed me a lot. Like, Jordan Spieth, I think, is all the way back. And if Jordan is all the way back, Jordan is a guy that can go toe-to-toe with those guys. So, like, I think we got to keep an eye on Jordan because he's a killer when he's in the hunt. So if he gets in the hunt with one of those guys in one of these next upcoming big events, I think that could be interesting. But other than that, like, everyone's on notice. Like, you have to go out and beat Jon Rahm and Scotty Scheffler, and that's hard to do right now.
All right, so no big balls betting card this week, right, for the Zurich Classic. But if you had to pick the most intriguing matchup, I saw Morikawa speaking yesterday about partnering up with Max Homa. You look at it, I mean, some of them are a little odd, but as you mentioned, do you just go Cantley and Schauffele at the top at plus 290? Like, what do you think the most intriguing matchup or the pairing for this week's event is, Dave?
I think it's ridiculous to go Cantlay or Schauffele at 3-1 or plus 290. That's insane. I mean, I wouldn't bet that if it were Jon Rahm or Scotty Scheffler in a regular golf tournament because there's still so much variance here. Now they did win it last year and they are playing really well, but this is an event where so 2 of the days they're going to play a best ball, which in this case means they're both going to play their own ball and they're going to take the best score on that hole. So if Xander gets a 4 and Cantlay gets a 3, they get to take the 3. Think about, and so when you have that format, scoring is through the roof because you got 2 PGA Tour pros just firing at pins, trying to make birdies. And if one of them does it, great. If the other one makes a triple, who gives a shit, right?
Right.
Think about that Sunday at the Masters when you had Phil and Jordan Spieth paired together. And I think they both shot like 7 under. Their best ball score would have been like a 15 under. They were lights out insane. And so when you have those kind of scoring conditions and you have the best players in the world playing aggressively, trying to make birdies, anything could happen. So you could get some of these long shots come up here and play well, and Cantlay and Schauffele hit great shots, but just not be able to get the ball in the hole. So there's no way I would bet a favorite. I think an intriguing matchup here pairing is the Kim squared matchup at 15-1. You have Tom Kim and you have Siwoo Kim, who are both young, aggressive, multi-time PGA Tour winners, both playing well right now. Played together in the President's Cup against Team USA, and was really these 2 guys were the only 2 that really gave much of a fight to anyone on the USA team last fall. So they've got a lot of great team chemistry. They're aggressive players. At 15-1, I'm interested in them if I were going to do something. And then Theegala, who I just talked about, Sahith Theegala and Justin Suh at 21-1, and Kurt Kitayama and Taylor Montgomery at 24-1. Those are two studs right now. Kitayama's not a rookie, but he's a young player on tour. Just won the Arnold Palmer. Taylor Montgomery's a young rookie stud who's those guys are both, they've got a lot of firepower. So I would just kind of mess around with those 3, and then I'm probably out on the rest of it.
And Dave, last one, it would be the fine to Rory McIlroy. You mentioned about Rahm and Scotty Scheffler. I thought it was really cool for Rahm for the Heritage last week when he came out and he just won the Masters and said, well, listen, if I was taking my son and daughter to the event and all of a sudden, like I decided to pull out, like I think it's important for the game for them to be able to see the Masters champion. So you had that from Rahm. And then you had McIlroy, who was signed up for the event, skipping the event, getting fined $3 million for skipping the event. First off, there's nothing not to like about the way that John Rahm,
$3 million.
He got fined $3 million because he signed up because it was a no-cut event. It was all that. So what did you make of the fine to Rory McIlroy of $3 million for skipping the Heritage?
So the drama is it was an elevated event, and the rule was that you're only allowed to skip one elevated event in the season. If you skip more than that, you get a penalty from your PIP money that you got at the end of the year last year, and it was a percentage. Rory got $12 million at the end of the year, and so he lost 25% of that with the $3 million takeaway because he'd already skipped an elevated event. The drama behind this is that Rory was the guy, rah-rahing everybody last year to say, we've got to combat live golf. We've got to play in these elevated events where all of the best players in the world play together at the same time. Because when we do that, the ratings go through the roof, the attention goes through the roof. So he was the one really championing that and behind a lot of that. And then for him to be the first one to not just dip out on 1, but dip out on 2, the week after the Masters when he didn't make the cut. So you had 2 extra days off. Jon Rahm didn't have those extra 2 days off, but you had the 2 extra days off to go to Hilton Head and spend some time with your family and just show up, and he didn't do it. So he's going to have to answer for that next time he gets in front of a microphone because he's pissed off, I think, not just fans, but he's pissed off his
Well, that's it. I mean, if you're going to be a leader, Dave, lead.
Exactly.
I mean, you got to be out there. If you're going to be one of the faces that are combating the Live Tour, then you've got to be out there and be playing golf at the Heritage. Plus, you were right; he was terrible at the Masters, and you told everybody right here and on your podcast, basically, do not bet Rory at Augusta. He's terrible.
I did. I said he's got some sort of mental break. I said it yesterday on our show. It's like the senior captain of your football team telling everybody that we're going to get up, in July before the season starts, and we're going to go, we're going to get up and do 3 extra workouts a week at 4 a.m. in the morning, and then he doesn't show up. That's what this is like. So I mean, Rory's got some, He's got some explaining to do.
Dave, you're awesome. You and Pat, continued success. We'll chat again next Wednesday when you join the program, and we'll have a little bit better of an event to chat about. But enjoy the now you get a weekend off. You don't even have to watch the event.
Yeah, I mean, I might watch on Sunday just for nothing to do. But yeah, I'll be ready to fire some bets next week for the Mexico event. John Rahm's defending that event. So yeah, we'll get to it. Thanks, boys. Good to talk to you.
You as well, Dave. Have a good one. You got Dave Barnett from Tour Junkies. Check out him and Pat. They do a great job. Check out their podcast here on Better Sports Network as well. Corey and myself, we'll come right back. We'll talk a little baseball. I got to just mention the Rangers' dominance of the Devils last night in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Got to get into that as well. Some NFL news. It's Moose and Keith. He's Corey Parson. In for Keith, the fantasy executive as well. As always, I'm Mark Malusis. We're coming right back. Better Sports Network.
Better Sports Network. Collectible moments.
Everybody up here at U.S. Cellular. Sox 5 runs, 6 hits. The 2-1 to Bartlett. Swing, chop to short. Ramirez has it, throws. Bartlett picks the perfect game. His second no-hitter. People going crazy here at U.S. Cellular. He's mobbed by his teammates. A perfecto.
Now there's a steal by Bird. Underneath the DJ, lays it in. Right out, 1 second left. What a play by Bird. Bird stole the impounding pass. Laid it up to DJ. DJ laid it up and in. And Boston has a 1-point lead with 1 second left.
Out of the I formation on first down. Peterson to carry, looking for running room on the right side, has it to the 25, across the 30, across the 35, and out of bounds at the 40-yard line. Adrian Peterson has just gone over 2,000 yards for the season, the 7th man in NFL history to cross the 2,000-yard mark.
Well, a thundering ovation for number 66, Mario Lemieux.
Just the emotion I'm sure Mario is feeling in this place. You don't appreciate something until it's gone, and it's so great to have Mario back.
Yager turns around. Over to Lemieux. Mario Lemieux, his first goal in his comeback here tonight at the Mellon Arena. And the Penguins lead 3-0, and he is smiling like a butcher's dog. Mario Lemieux.
Oh, the band is out on the field. He's going to go into the end zone. The Bears have scored, but the bands are out on the field.
Pearson moves in front of the STP Dodge. Petty comes back to the inside. They almost touch as they move down low in the banking. They're going to be side by side as they exit the bank and head for the finish line.
Richard Petty goes back in front. They both spin. They're in the wall. Petty is sliding, slamming into the wall. He's coming down toward the finish line. Will he make it? Pearson is still running. The winner is car number 21. An amazing finish. Richard Petty's car demolished in the front end, as well as car number 21. An unbelievable finish, a terrible crash. David Pearson has won the Daytona 500. Leitner catches, comes down, dribbles, shoots, scores! Christian Leitner has hit the bucket at the buzzer! Pitched by Downing, swinging, there's a drive into left center field. That ball is gonna be out of here. It's gone. It's 7-15. There's a new home run champion of all time, and it's Henry Aaron.
The most valuable player is Magic Johnson. 42 points, 15 rebounds, and 7 assists. He starts at center, plays forward and guard, and leads the Los Angeles Lakers to a world championship 123-107 over Philadelphia.
Whether you collect sports memorabilia, fantasy championships, or winning bet slips, talk about it on Better Sports Network.
Got 5 chicks in New York, that means 1 in each borough. I'm in the pocket like Burrow. When I'm back home, no, they treat me like Robert De Niro. So good to talk about.
Well, let's get into a little bit of baseball because I thought, listen, the Yankees celebrating the 100th anniversary of Yankee Stadium, even though the stadium,
the real Yankee Stadium,
the real Yankee Stadium, which they destroyed, and they decided to knock down and built a new one that's an embarrassment to the old one. But I mean, I'm a Yankee.
How did that happen?
I don't know.
How did that happen, bro? We, as New Yorkers, we should have figured out a way to keep that old stadium rocking, or going, or something. We bought into the new stadium, and then the joint's a dump.
Yeah, and Corey, I'll never forget the first time I walked into old Yankee Stadium, and I know it was refurbished. I get it, and they play games at Shea Stadium at the time, and whatever, but it's not the original. No. And the Yankees have. Didn't start playing baseball, obviously, when they first started at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx either, right? So, but That's besides the point. I walked into that old place and you could just sense the history of the building. Like you could just feel it. And I took a tour with my dad in the final year of Yankee Stadium and we went out there and, we were able to go in the dugout and went into, Monument Park, and at a point we were able to go out onto the field. And like, I still have pictures for those days, like in that day. And like, I look at the new Yankee Stadium and I'm like, this is a shame. Like they should have done what Boston did with Fenway Park, what they did with Wrigley Field. You imagine the Dodgers ever playing anywhere else other than Chavez Ravine.
No,
that park is, I understand it's a little antiquated in certain areas that they can modernize it, but imagine playing that is the most picturesque place to go play a baseball game ever. And you took and you wrecked the history of Yankee Stadium instead of figuring out a way to refurbish it, do something to get it more modernized, what you wanted. Why tear it completely down? Now it's a game. Now it's where they play baseball games, Little League baseball games, that field. And there have been issues taking care of the grounds and where the old Yankee Stadium used to be.
That should be like a historical marker or something like that, to where that area is upkept and stuff like that. And I can imagine, you know what I'm saying, how things look in the Boogie right now. So maybe that's the least of their worries. But I just remember, meet me at the bat. Now it's meet me at the guitar.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
It's
right. So corporate, they made it so corporate. I wish if they was to be honest, they would say that was a mistake to tear down the original Yankee Stadium.
I agree with you. Remember, like I used to meet my uncle, my dad at the bat. We'll meet it. It was like the ultimate meeting spot. Yeah. Exactly right. Remember when you used to drive on the Major Deegan and they had that sign that used to tell you on the right-hand side, if you were headed southbound on the Major Deegan. Now, if you're not from the New York City area, the Major Deegan it cuts right in front of where Yankee Stadium is.
Yeah.
Right. So if you come over the GW Bridge, or if you're coming from Westchester, you're coming from Connecticut, usually you're taking, the thruway down, you catch the Major Deegan connector, and that takes you to Yankee Stadium. It's usually backed up before and after Yankee games with all the traffic pouring out, because that's really the outlet to get away. But there used to be, I remember always driving past Yankee Stadium, and if you're going southbound toward the city, you'd look over your left, you'd see the stadium, and then you'd pass this little sign on the right that would tell you when the next Yankee game was. They even tore that down. Like, why tear that? Like, they tore it all down, the history.
All the history is going. I mean, and me coming from, I used to walk to Yankee Stadium, so I would basically walk across the McCombs Bridge, right across the Major Deacon, and walk up right to the house. You know what I'm saying? It was like a 10-minute walk from where I was staying in Harlem. So. And it's just like, I mean,
every time I go to Yankee Stadium, a hot day, you could always get a bottle of water for $1.
Yeah. You need to remember this. Back in the day, the squeegee dudes was out there too.
Oh, the squeegee dudes, yes. I was like, I just get my car washed. I don't need it.
Yeah, exactly. So,
and they didn't give you no for an answer. They were spraying that stuff on your windshield whether you liked it or not.
Moose, taking the dirty water out off the street and putting that on your window. So but I used to be 12, 13 years old, and I would walk over there, buy tickets, and sit in the bleachers. Now, I would never let my children do that nowadays. You know what I'm saying? But do you think it plays into the lack of championship success for the last, 15 years?
Well, I don't think the home field is nearly what it once was. They draw a crowd. They draw 39, 40,000 every single night.
Don't sound the same.
But you look at it, does it have the same vibe? Does it have the same feel? No, it doesn't. I mean, it really doesn't. It's played to, they've really at certain points really priced out Joe and Jane Q Public out of the building to where you can really afford to go to multiple games during the course of a season, which is difficult to do. I know you could find cheaper tickets, but I'm talking about like around home plate.
Yeah,
where
take your family, it's gonna cost you.
I mean, like if you want to go to those seats, what are those running you like $1,000 a game per seat? I mean, something like that. Like that's ridiculous for a regular season game. But you get free food and drinks, so you can go out there. So you can go in there and you can eat lobster tail and filet mignon and have champagne and whatever and enjoy yourself like you're about to go to a wedding.
The royal wedding.
Right.
Give me a hot dog, give me a beer, sit me in the joint on a nice hot sunny day, and I'm straight. This new joint, I'm like, it
Corey,
just don't feel. It's like, ugh.
Like there was nothing better when I was a kid growing up. And I still remember it to this day. Like you'd walk down the corridor on the left field line, right? Down the left field line. And you'd pass, I think it was the Pinstripe Bar, which you could never go into, right? But there was the Pinstripe Bar that was a bar that all, people of drinking age could get into. And then there was the place that made the chicken tenders and fries.
Amazing.
That was the best chicken tenders and fries that you'll ever have. And it was like you could smell the grease from 150 feet away. Like it was the best. Like every time I went to Yankee Stadium, the hot dog, occasionally I had the chicken fingers and fries at old Yankee Stadium were amazing.
Nah, it was definitely a different type of venue, a different type of ballpark. A lot of memories there, a lot of history. I think they'll look back at it and say they made a mistake. You know what I'm saying? Going out there, sitting in those bleachers when I probably was too young to hear that language. You know what I'm saying? And just going out there and it's so different now. Like, I take my kids and they be like, oh, what is this? It's like a museum or it's like a hotel or something. It's like, it doesn't feel like you're in a ballpark when you're at the new Yankee Stadium.
No, it doesn't. And there was great moments that great memories you and I had growing up going to the old Yankee Stadium. I mean, you get into that conversation because, on the anniversary that, Babe Ruth hits, a home run to open up the Yankee Stadium, you get Shohei Ohtani hitting a home run last night for the Anaheim Angels. They win the game. I think the final score was 5-2. Clark Schmidt wasn't particularly good. He was on the mound last night.
He was horrible.
Yeah, he was terrible.
He's been horrible all season. 14 runs in 14 innings. He's why is he out there?
Because they've got no other viable options right now. And he was a former first-round draft choice that they had. I think he was coming out of South Carolina. Wow. He's been better out of the bullpen than he has been in the starting rotation. But Schmidt was terrible last night. And Ohtani, you get into this because you think about what could have been. Like the Yankees were dying, literally. I mean, as an organization, they were hoping and praying. And they, as did a lot of teams, thought that Shohei Ohtani was going to be this transcendent star in Major League Baseball, exactly what he is. Now you watch him with the Angels, and he's unbelievable. Like, he really is. Like, you don't have to be an Angel fan to appreciate what Shohei Ohtani is as a baseball player and what he can do. Like, I was having this discussion with my wife the other day. It's funny. My wife doesn't like Little League Baseball, right? She finds it very boring. Like watching the kids play Little League. Yeah, I kind of agree. Right? She finds it to be like extremely boring. Yeah. Like there's no action. There's no, like the kids get no like cardiovascular work. Right. Yeah, exactly. And so my kids play hockey.
She would hate T-ball.
So my kids play hockey. They play lacrosse. They do a little flag football. 2 of them play in Little League Baseball. But she told me right at the start of the year, she's like, Mark, it's on you. Yeah. Like you're taking them when you can. You're taking them to the fields. I'm gonna bow out. Like I can't sit there for 2.5 hours. Right? I'm like, all right, I'll go to the ball. I'll go to the ball field, which is fine. But I told her, I go, Donna, but baseball players are really good athletes. 2 of the best athletes in the world are on the same team, and they're both baseball players. Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout are 2 of the best athletes in the world. They just are. I mean, they're the 2 best baseball players in the world right now because of what Ohtani does. And Mike Trout, when he's healthy, Corey, I think he's the best, position player in the game. I know Judge has made a run and there's others you can get into the discussion. I still think it's Trout. I bring that up because Ohtani is a guy that you look at now and say, well, the Angels, is he going to be there at the end, for this season? And where do you think Shohei Ohtani ends up playing at the end of the season?
Hopefully the Yankees. You know what I'm saying?
Do they have enough to be able to go get Shohei?
It's probably say it's a lot of money, and then you know how that situation goes. But I mean, I remember some Yankee teams that would make that happen, particularly if there's no championship success after this season. If he even gets to far as to because obviously the Angels don't want to let him go away for nothing, and it feels like that's going to be the case because the player of that caliber out there, kind of you want to see him playing in October. You know what I'm saying? You want to see him on one of the big franchises in Major League Baseball. So dynamic talent, fantastic guy, as far as what he can do. The excitement is not there around the player. He's not a household name because of, number one, truth of the matter. The sport's terrible on television. Number 2, he played for the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim.
Yeah.
And there you go. You know what I mean? Now, this whole Babe Ruth thing now. You know I'm not with that Babe Ruth, right? You know what I mean? Moose, you don't think that Babe Ruth is real, do you?
What do you mean I don't think Babe Ruth is real?
You know Babe Ruth is a fictional character, right?
That is not true.
All right.
Not a fictional character.
All right.
Why do you think Babe Ruth is a fictional
You've
character?
never heard the promo? The Babe Ruth's a fictional character promo?
No, I've heard Mighty Casey, the book I read as a kid.
Right here on the Better Network, there was I believe that Babe Ruth is a fictional character. I don't think he's like a baseball Santa Claus. Like, I don't think there's a such thing as Babe Ruth. Like, I don't like who can you guarantee me that Babe Ruth was real? You can't.
Yeah, I went to his home in Baltimore.
you went to who they told you was Babe Ruth's home in Baltimore.
You don't really believe Babe Ruth is a fictional
You've
character.
never seen him play. Nobody's ever seen him play.
Everyone that saw him play is dead.
But even the video,
for the most
it's
part,
still photos.
Alive,
Yeah, it's still photos.
Yeah,
The
I
video
understand.
like-
We could say that about a lot of things in history.
I'm not convinced that Babe Ruth was a real
Did
person.
Wilt really score 100?
That's a good. We've seen Wilt before, though, right?
Yes.
But did he really score 100? But the Babe Ruth thing, nobody has ever seen Babe Ruth.
Well, no, I've not personally seen Babe Ruth. No, I've seen artifacts. I've seen the bat that he swung. I've seen pictures of Babe Ruth. I've seen photos of Babe Ruth. But listen,
And then how many years did he play?
What, Babe Ruth played 20 years, I believe?
He did? Oh, I didn't even think he played that long. I don't know. I'm just not buying the whole Babe Ruth thing.
You really don't think Babe Ruth was real?
I think Babe Ruth's a fictional character.
Wait, hold on. Let me check the most trusted source, Wikipedia.
Yeah, George Herman Ruth.
There he is. There he is. A nice still photo of Babe Ruth. Yeah.
George
July
Herman
11th,
Ruth.
1914. Or no, made his debut 1914 with the Red Sox. Last appearance was with the Boston Braves, 35.
And the last time that this
so he played
Babe
20
Ruth
years.
was seen was 1935.
Yes,
All
1935.
right, so I don't know, baby. I don't know. Interesting. I think Ohtani is really the trendsetter here.
Well, listen, Ohtani is. I think what makes it different is that just how sports specific athletes are nowadays. And what I mean by this, Corey, is that like if you're a young kid and you're a basketball player, you're probably more focused on basketball than anything else. If you're a lacrosse player, you're more focused on lacrosse than anything else. Like I'm a big believer like that. I think young kids, young boys and girls, they should play in multiple different sports. I think you become like just a better overall athlete if that's something you want to pursue.
So here's interesting.
But you have to be sport specific. I think what separates Ohtani is that because of that very fact, the ability to be great at two different disciplines in the same sport is pretty remarkable because of how specialized. Because there had to be a point in time where, Corey, where it's like, no, you're a better hitter than a pitcher. And then they continue to pursue and continue to evolve in the other as you continue to be successful in the other discipline is remarkable. Because usually there's a branch off when you're a young kid. Like if you start to separate yourself as a hitter or as a pitcher, there's a branch off. Then you kind of become focused on that one entity and show he's great at both.
So here's what's interesting about it. It's actually a conversation I had recently with a buddy of mine who is in the athletic space. You know what I'm saying? As far as his kids and coaching and stuff like that. And we had the conversation about the NBA and Luka and Embiid and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and how all the stars coming up are not from America. And a buddy of mine actually said that American sports is struggling, right? And I was like, I wonder why. And he said it's because American kids only play one sport. They get into that one sport mode. When you're young, you should be playing. If you're an athlete, you should be playing baseball, football, basketball, hockey. What we do now in the United States is we put our children on a one sport track. whereas everybody else is letting their kids play all the sports and get acclimated to everything. So I think what you're saying is correct. Is in the United States, you would never, if you had that kind of dominant pitcher, you wasn't going to let him bat. If you had that kind of dominant batter and he told you he wanted to pitch, you'd be like, son, are you crazy? That's not how we do it, youth sports in America.
No, that's not. No, you're right about that. That's not how we do it in youth sports in America. That's fair. That is very fair. I mean, listen, I think it's an interesting conversation. I think for Ohtani though, the sky's the limit. Like I mean, if you're the Angels,
I want to see him how would you handle him in the postseason? What do you let him do in the postseason?
Anything he wants.
That makes sense.
No, what would you? I mean, would you? I mean, you're not going.
Do you let him pitch? Do you? I don't want. Do I want him playing two ways? Is he a pitcher and a pinch hitter? Or are you bringing him to bat every day and letting him pitch game 4 and game 7? Can you put him out there games 1, 4, and 7 and let him?
I don't know if I do. I don't know if I do 1, 4, and 7. I don't know if I do that. Well, I mean, it depends on the spacing of it, but he's definitely getting 2 starts. He's definitely my game 1 starter. How is he not?
So if he's getting 2 starts, then are you going to use him as a bat too or a pinch hitter?
But here's the deal. Like, what's the shame of it is like we can't even sit here on this Wednesday and make the argument. You know, the Angels are 9-8 on the year, I believe they are, right?
Going in the postseason. He's going to be when he plays on a postseason team.
Well, you never see him in the postseason. Like, it's all about the regular season. The same thing with Mike Trout. Like, think about that. Like, I'm a Yankee fan. You're a Yankee fan. We complain about the Yankees. The Yankees are at least in the postseason every single year. Like, the Angels have arguably the 2 best baseball players in the world, and they can't find their way to the postseason.
It's crazy. That's why you got to do something.
I mean, it's insanity when you think about like how that's it. Like, think about that. Like, the Yankee fans want to fire Brian Cashman. Imagine the Yankees had Trout, who they wanted. The Yankees wanted to draft Mike Trout. Unfortunately,
let me tell you something. Yankee fans would burn that stadium down.
Trout and Ohtani and the Yankees were as bad as the Angels.
Yeah, that wouldn't happen. Or at least we hope it wouldn't. At least we hope it wouldn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, their stars, they're 2 of the biggest players don't play in the postseason when the light shines brightest on the sport. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is crazy. How about Clayton Kershaw and his brilliance and how he's been able to carry it for the Los Angeles Dodgers, and another stellar performance for the future Hall of Famer last night for LA.
Yeah, he came out there and he kind of shut the Mets out, wrapped them up pretty good last night. You know, Clayton Kershaw got that what was that? That 200th. What was that? When was that?
I think 200th.
200th career victory. So, I mean, you know what Clayton Kershaw is, and when you look over the last decade or so, can you say he's been the best pitcher? It would probably be hard not to. Him, Max Scherzer, Verlander, Greinke. I like David Price. You know what I mean? So he is the postseason criticism's legit?
Yeah, I think the Dodgers finally.
That's what you're judged on.
That's true. I mean, there's the inherent knock if you're not you're a great regular season performer. Inherently, there's a knock that you don't pitch well in the postseason. I think, unfortunately, he was not in his prime. I don't think Clayton Kershaw was a great postseason player. I compare, and I don't know, Corey, I compare Kershaw to Peyton Manning.
Yeah, because Peyton Manning did win. Yeah, that's true. But no, you're right.
But I'll say this. I think there was a level in the regular season of consistency that separated Kershaw and Manning when they were at their peak that nobody else in the sport really could match. But however, when you got to October, they were not able to then get to another level. And that means a lot.
And it means more.
They were not able to take their game to another level that they needed to. But in the regular season, they were able to find a consistency in their game and in their performance that really not many people can find, but they were not able to raise their level in the postseason. That's that. Yeah, because I don't think Peyton Manning outside. I know we won
terrible. I don't want to say he was terrible, but
yeah, he was.
He beat Rex Grossman and Cam Newton.
Right, exactly right. And the Cam Newton Super Bowl was more on the defense and Von
Mhm.
Miller than anything else. I mean,
He
the
was just
defense
handing
that
it
day,
off at that time.
right. I mean, Peyton Manning could barely throw the football. He couldn't throw the ball past 15 yards. It looked like he was punting the ball up there when he was throwing it.
If you had to give the ball to one pitcher, Game 7, Clayton Kershaw or Madison Bumgarner?
Oh, Bumgarner.
You said that pretty easy too.
Yeah, because I think Bumgarner went and not now, not right.
I'm talking about prime.
We're talking about San Francisco Giants, Madison Bumgarner.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Madison Bumgarner is I would say he has got the steely nerves of like a cat burglar. When you look at
I like that.
Like I think Bumgarner could, he was a guy that had the utmost confidence, and you saw it with San Francisco to get the ball in a big time spot and be able to dominate a lineup.
Cole Hamels, Cole Hamels, Clayton Kershaw.
I'd probably take Clayton.
Yeah. Greinke, Kershaw.
Kershaw. Greinke was not great.
You never knew. Scherzer over Kershaw, correct?
Yeah, I would take Scherzer over Kershaw, and I would probably take
Strasburg
based on that.
I was going to mention Strasburg.
Yeah, Strasburg on that run. Now he's never. I mean, he paid for the rest of his career with it, but that run to help the Washington Nationals win that World Series was one of the great individual pitching performances that you'll see when he was not only starting but coming out of the bullpen for Washington.
Felix Hernandez. He was another one with no postseason.
No postseason.
Yeah, no postseason. So it's tough. CC Sabathia.
Yeah, I'd probably take CC.
Yeah, me too.
I'd probably take Sabathia.
Even when he got older, the crafty Sabathia was still like, he's hung in there tough.
Yeah, we get the in the chat session, I'm right. DeGrom over Kershaw. Yeah, when he's right. The problem with Jacob DeGrom is, and it's great that the news out of Texas is it's not a serious injury. He's expected to make his next start. You laugh because the next injury is right around the corner for Jacob DeGrom.
Nah, the talent is there, obviously, but people that can get out there. John Lester, Clayton Kershaw.
Lester.
Interesting. I figured you would have went Kershaw with that.
Why? Who would you go with? You'd go Kershaw?
Man, that's a tough one right there. John Lester was a beast. There was a bulldog getting into your face. Really had no fear. I think Kershaw probably better, but I think in the moment of that kind of mental intensity, I probably would go with Lester.
Kershaw in the postseason. Thank you in our chat session. I'm right. 13-12, ERA of 4.22. 213 strikeouts, 1 save, and 38 appearances in the postseason in his career.
That 13-12 in the postseason. See, that 12 is a problem.
No, that's not ideal. That's not exactly what you want to see. That's not exactly what you want to see.
That's 3 series losses right there. 4, 8, 12. You know what I'm saying? So that's tough right there. I don't know. Interesting, to compare some of these guys. Was he John Lester, 9-7, 251, 133 strikeouts? Yeah. Lester was better.
Lester was better. One other note in baseball, I want to get touch upon the Rangers and the Devils, but our guy Giancarlo Stanton expected to be out 6 weeks with a hamstring injury. Now, do you get on Stanton for not hustling out of the gate on Saturday on his double in the 7th inning? And that maybe caused the hamstring injury because he was off the bat. It looked like a Stantonian blast. But do you get on Stanton for not hustling out of the box? And then now he's gone for 6 weeks. And here's what you do know, Corey, is that he is not a quick healer.
No, he has a little bit of Jose Reyes to him where it'll probably be after the All-Star break. You got to be careful with the soft tissue injuries, especially. I don't know how the weather has been up there, but I can imagine it's not like typical baseball weather yet, so that can be problematic. You knew what you were getting when you brought this guy into the organization, though. You knew he was.
I said this the other day, Corey, when Keith and I were talking about it. The one thing about Stan is that the Yankees can withstand a lot in the regular season and still win games.
Yeah,
they're going to still win. Like Stan is not going to now limit what the Yankees can accomplish in the regular season. They might not be as prodigious hitting the ball over the fence. When you look at it from a team perspective, might look a little bit different, but they're going to still win a ton of games.
Yeah, no, it's too big to fail.
Yes.
Yeah, too big to fail. It's
By the way,
kinda-
have you watched any of the hockey?
I have to be honest with you. No, I haven't.
Well, let me ask you this. If the Rangers are in the Stanley Cup final, would you watch the hockey?
Yeah, I would watch the Rangers. I watched the Rangers. So here it's like this, right? So, when we get to the important series, when we get to the conference finals, isn't Carolina good too?
Carolina's good. Yeah, they lead the Islanders 1-0.
Okay. So if you get a good conference finals like that, I don't know if that can be a conference finals. And then obviously if the Rangers are going for the Stanley Cup, I'll be in on the Rangers right there.
I do like a couple plays in the NHL tonight. We'll get into the Rangers here. Yes. I like the Islanders tonight, plus 140 to knock off Carolina.
Okay. Where's tonight? Tonight's in Raleigh or it's in on Long Island?
Tonight's in Raleigh. Game 2
Have
tonight.
they opened up that new building in Long Island yet?
Yes, UBS. Yeah.
Yes,
It's right next to Belmont Park. Yes. I haven't
Right.
been there yet, but I've heard good things. Parson's a disaster, but it always is.
I can imagine.
One knock on it is to get to the building, to get to the arena is a nightmare. But other than that, it's pretty
You
good.
can ride Long Island Railroad, though.
You could, yes. Yeah,
If you
that's
want to
one
go that
thing.
route. Yeah.
Yes. But I like the Islanders tonight, plus 140 to knock off Carolina. And I also like the Oilers to bounce back against the Los Angeles Kings after losing game 1 at home in overtime to the Kings and blowing a lead in that game. I think the Oilers bounce back in a big time way. I would actually maybe lay the goal and a half tonight, plus 118.
Well, you like them, so you would take it on the puck line.
I am taking them on the puck line.
I knew that.
Yes.
There
you go.
No, I can talk. I can bet on it. No. You haven't heard the executive on ice?
No.
Yeah, the executive on ice. That is a moniker of mine, the executive on ice. So if I have to get into the ice hockey, I can do that as well. You know what I'm saying? But I got to do some studying first. But I would consider myself a fan of the Rangers.
And they play tomorrow night in Jersey, and they had a tour de force performance last night in Jersey and knocking off the Devils 5-1. It was great.
That's a big rivalry right there.
That is a big rivalry. It's the first time in what is it? It's been, I think, 11 years. 2012 was the last time they met in the postseason.
Okay, so they have met since Matteau.
Yes.
Okay.
The rematch in the conference finals in 2012.
I feel like the Rangers won that.
No, the Devils won it, but then lost to the Kings in the Stanley Cup final.
Okay, there you go. I knew I was working.
They played great last night. Kreider with a couple goals, Tarasenko with a goal. They shut down Hughes. Shesterkin was great net. Hughes did have one goal.
Garden was rocking.
No, it was in
It was in. Oh, okay. Well, when they come back to the Garden, I'm sure it'll be rocking.
Yeah, it'll be Saturday night. Standalone.
Oh, that's right. We did
ABC.
say that's right. Yeah,
that's exactly right.
I may have to watch that.
All the afternoon baseball today, Corey.
Huh?
Afternoon baseball today. Will you be locked in?
Yeah, I definitely have some afternoon baseball on. I got a couple of running around to do today, but I will have some afternoon baseball. I have not made a baseball bet yet this season. I almost hit a wild parlay the other night, just pushing buttons. I was one team away from putting $10 to win like 1,000. You know what I'm saying? But if you would, I will give you one for tonight. I go with the Memphis Grizzlies. I trust Memphis to get back tonight if Ja plays.
There you go. Corey, it's been a blast, brother.
My man.
Have a good day. See you tomorrow at 10.